My girlfriend looked at me and said, "It meant nothing. He was just better at a few things than you." I didn't raise my voice. I just answered, "Then let him be better at paying your bills too." That night, I canceled our lease, accepted the promotion I'd been offered, and let silence say everything I didn't need to. I'm Alex, 31M. My girlfriend is Kaya, 28F. We've been together just under 2 years and living together for the last 8 months. On paper, things probably look good. We share a downtown apartment. She's a lifestyle influencer with a growing following, and I work in corporate operations. Stable job, decent money, boring LinkedIn energy. The kind of guy who plans 5 years ahead and pays bills early. Kaya is intense. That's the kindest way I can put it. Everything is about vibes, energy, and what makes sense for her brand. When she's in a good mood, she's magnetic. When she's not, it's like living with a disappointed manager who forgot to clock out. Small comments. Eye rolls. Sighs when I say the wrong thing. Constant reminders that I'm too logical or not emotionally fluent enough. Still, I supported her. Financially, emotionally, quietly. She was upfront early on that brand deals were inconsistent. I told myself it was temporary. I covered more rent. Picked up utilities. Paid for dinners because it looks weird if we split checks in public. I didn't love that line, but I ignored it. The crack started showing a few months ago. She became secretive with her phone, but not in a guilty way, more like annoyed that I existed near it. If I asked who she was texting, she'd say, "Why do you need to know?" Like curiosity was a character flaw. She started comparing me to people I'd never met. Other men are more driven. Some guys actually get ambition. Always vague. Always just enough to sting. Last Thursday night, we were sitting in the kitchen. I was looking over an offer letter I'd just received for a promotion. More responsibility, more pay, but also more hours. I was excited. Nervous, but excited. I tried to share that with her. She barely looked up from her phone. That was the moment everything shifted, even though I didn't know it yet. She didn't ask what the promotion was for. Didn't ask if I wanted it. Didn't ask how I felt. She scrolled for a few more seconds, thumb flicking like my sentence hadn't registered, then said, "So, does that mean you'll be home even less?" Not congrats. Not that's big. Just logistics. Inconvenience. I mean, probably a bit, I said. But it's a pretty major step. Title change. Pay bump. It's kind of the thing I've been working toward. She sighed. Loud. The kind of sigh meant to be heard. "Alex, I just don't know how that fits into where I'm going," she said, finally setting the phone down and looking at me like I'd pitched her a bad idea in a meeting. "You're already very rigid." Rigid. That was her word lately. Not stable. Not reliable. Rigid. I asked what she meant. She leaned back in her chair, crossed her arms, and said, "I'm in a growth phase. Everything in my life needs to be aligned. Energy-wise. And you're very corporate." I laughed a little because I thought she was joking. She wasn't. She started listing things. How I don't network properly. How I don't dress with intention. How I don't post enough. How I don't understand that visibility is currency now. Every sentence felt rehearsed, like she'd practiced this in her head long before I brought up the promotion. Then she said something that stuck. "I just feel like lately I'm evolving," she said, "and you're staying exactly the same." I asked her if she was unhappy. She tilted her head, annoyed by the question. "Why does it always have to be so dramatic with you? I'm just being honest." That was the night I noticed the distance wasn't emotional. It was strategic. She wasn't mad. She wasn't sad. She was evaluating. Later, in bed, she stayed on her phone while I stared at the ceiling. Notifications kept lighting up the room. I caught a name I didn't recognize. Then another. Mostly men. Compliments. Fire emojis. "Let's collab sometime." I didn't say anything. I didn't sleep either. The next morning, she kissed me on the cheek like everything was fine and asked if I could cover the electric bill because a payment was delayed. I paid it. At the time, I still thought we were a couple going through a phase. I didn't realize I was already being replaced, just not officially yet. Things didn't blow up right away. That's the part that messes with me the most. They eroded. Over the next week, Kaya started coming home later. Not dramatically late, just late enough that dinner plans quietly died without discussion. If I asked, she'd say things like, "I lost track of time," or "networking ran long." Like that was the end of it. When I tried to press even a little, she'd get sharp. "You're interrogating me now?" So I stopped asking. She also started criticizing me more openly. Not yelling. Never yelling. Just casual remarks dropped like trash on the counter. "You should really think about whitening your teeth. That jacket makes you look older. You know, confidence is sexy." You don't really project that. She'd say these things while scrolling, barely looking at me, as if she were commenting on a podcast she half listened to. One night, she asked me to take photos of her for a sponsored post. Rooftop at golden hour. I spent 40 minutes adjusting angles, retaking shots, following instructions like, no, don't crouch, it shortens me. And can you make it feel more aspirational? Afterward, she reviewed them and frowned. Ugh, I'll have Evan touch these up. I asked who Evan was. She blinked at me like I'd interrupted something obvious. He's a photographer. We've been collaborating. Collaborating. That word again. I asked when she met him. A while ago, she said. Why? No reason, I replied, even though something in my chest tightened. That night, I noticed she'd changed her phone password. A few days later, we were out at a small birthday thing for one of her friends. Everyone was drinking. The vibe was loud and performative. Kaya was glowing, laughing too hard, touching people's arms, playing the room like it was content. At some point, one of her friends joked, Kaya always upgrades. Everyone laughed, including Kaya. She looked at me then, smile still on her face, and said, I just don't like settling. It landed like a slap disguised as a joke. I waited for her to say something, to clarify, to soften it. She didn't. On the way home, I asked what that meant. She rolled her eyes. God, you're so sensitive. You know I wasn't talking about you. But she didn't say who she was talking about either. That night, lying in bed next to her, I realized something uncomfortable. She wasn't pushing me away because she hated me. She was pushing me away because she thought she could do better and wanted me to feel that, without ever having to say it out loud. And I still hadn't hit my breaking point. Not yet. The breaking point didn't come as a scream or a confession. It came as a sentence delivered with the same tone she used to order coffee. We were in the living room on Sunday afternoon. Kaya was on the couch, laptop open, phone balanced on her knee, fully absorbed in herself. I was at the table going through our shared expenses, trying to make sense of why my checking account felt lighter every month. I asked, calmly, Hey, can we talk about finances for a minute? She didn't look up. Make it quick. That should have been my cue to stop, but I didn't. I told her I'd noticed I was covering almost everything now. Rent, utilities, groceries, subscriptions. Even things she said she'd get later. I wasn't accusing her. I was just asking where we stood. She finally looked at me, visibly irritated. Why are you keeping score? She asked. I'm not, I said. I just need clarity. She closed her laptop with a sharp snap and stood up. You knew who I was when we started dating. That line again. The universal deflection. I supported you when you had nothing going, she continued. And now you're acting like helping me is some burden. I reminded her that I didn't mind supporting her, but partnerships need balance. Transparency. A plan. She laughed. Actually laughed. Alex, she said, shaking her head. This is why you don't understand women like me. I asked what that meant. She walked over, leaned against the counter, and said it. The sentence I can still hear perfectly. It meant nothing, she said. He was just better at a few things than you. I felt my stomach drop. Who? I asked. She sighed like I was slow. Evan. Relax. Nothing even happened. He just gets me more. Creatively. Socially. He doesn't make everything about spreadsheets and bills. I asked if she slept with him. She rolled her eyes. Why does it always go there with you? That wasn't a no. Then she added, casually, almost kindly, you should be secure enough not to feel threatened. That's when something in me went very quiet. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I just said, then let him be better at paying your bills too. She froze. And for the first time in months, she looked genuinely confused. She had no idea what I was about to do. She stared at me like she was waiting for the punchline. Are you serious right now? She asked. I nodded. Not dramatically. Not smugly. Just done. Kyle laughed again, but this one was sharper. Defensive. Wow. So you're punishing me now? I'm setting boundaries, I said. Something you keep telling me I need to learn. She scoffed. You're being emotional. That was her favorite word when she didn't want to take responsibility. I told her I was going for a walk. I needed air. She told me not to be dramatic. I grabbed my jacket anyway. While I was out, my phone buzzed. Not from her. From my boss. He asked if I'd had time to think about the promotion. Said they needed an answer by Monday. The role would require relocating for a bit. Different office. Bigger scope. He told me. This is one of those opportunities people regret passing up. I stood on the sidewalk for a long time after that call ended. When I got back to the apartment, Kaya was filming a story in the mirror. Ring light on. Music playing. She glanced at me through the phone screen and mouthed, 1 second. I waited. She finished, smiled at herself, then turned to me like we were resuming a paused argument. So, she said, are you done sulking? That was the moment I realized she wasn't scared of losing me. She was annoyed that I wasn't behaving predictably. I asked her a simple question. If I stopped paying for things tomorrow, what would happen? She frowned. Why would you do that? I'm asking hypothetically. She crossed her arms. You wouldn't. You're not that kind of guy. Not you couldn't. You wouldn't. That's when I understood how she saw me. Not as a boyfriend. As infrastructure. That night, while she slept, I opened my laptop and reread the promotion details. Then I opened our lease agreement. Month to month. 30 days notice. My name on everything. I didn't feel angry. I felt calm. The kind of calm that only shows up when a decision has already been made somewhere deep inside you. By morning, Kaya was still asleep, and I was already planning my exit. I didn't tell her right away. For the next few days, I acted normal. Not overly affectionate. Not distant either. Just neutral. I went to work. Came home. Paid nothing extra. Cooked for myself. Let the quiet speak. Kaya noticed. She always notices shifts in attention. You're being weird, she said one night while scrolling through comments. Did I say something that upset you? I almost laughed at the wording. Did I say something? Like the words hadn't been deliberate. I'm just busy, I said. Thinking. She nodded like that explanation bored her. Well, don't get in your head too much. That's when you spiral. 2 days later, I gave my boss my answer. Yes, I'd take the promotion. Temporary relocation. Immediate start. Everything accelerated faster than I expected, like once I said yes, the universe decided to stop stalling. That same afternoon, I emailed our property manager. Gave notice. 30 days. Clean and legal. My name removed. Utilities transferred back to default. Internet canceled. Everything tied to me quietly detached. I didn't tell Kaya yet. I wanted to see how long she'd stay comfortable without knowing the ground was already shifting. The first sign was the grocery delivery that didn't arrive. She complained about it while I made coffee. Did you forget to reorder? She asked. No, I said. I didn't. She stared at me. What does that mean? It means I didn't reorder. She blinked, processing. So, are you going to? No. Her jaw tightened. Alex, what is this? Reality, I said. You said Evan was better at some things. I figured this was a good time to stop competing. She laughed, but it sounded thin. You're being petty. I'm being consistent. That night, she ordered takeout. On her card, I heard her sigh when the total popped up. The next morning, she asked if I'd already paid rent for the upcoming month. I haven't, I said. Her head snapped up. What? I gave notice. That was the first time I saw panic flicker across her face. Not fear. Panic. Calculating panic. You can't just do that, she said. We live here. For now, I replied. She stared at me like I'd broken a rule she thought was unbreakable. And for the first time since I met her, Kaya didn't look powerful. She looked unprepared, and I was already emotionally gone. Once the panic set in, Kaya tried a different approach. She got nice. Not genuinely nice, strategically nice. The next morning, she made coffee. For both of us. She even used my mug, the one she always said threw off her aesthetic. She asked how work was going. Asked if I'd slept okay. Touched my arm when she passed me in the kitchen. Like muscle memory, she suddenly remembered mattered. You've been really distant, she said softly. I don't like it when we're like this. That word finally showed up again. I told her I was busy preparing for a move. She blinked. A move? Yeah. The promotion requires relocation. Temporarily. Her smile froze. You never mentioned that. I mentioned the promotion. You didn't ask questions. That landed. She sat down across from me and leaned forward. Alex, let's not do anything rash. You're overreacting to one conversation. One conversation, I repeated. She waved her hand. You know what I mean. You're letting your ego get bruised, and now you're trying to prove a point. I asked her a simple question. If I hadn't overheard your comparison, if I'd just kept paying and smiling, would you have ever told me? She hesitated. That pause told me everything. She switched tactics again. You're really going to throw this away over jealousy? She asked. Over Evan? No, I said. I'm walking away because I realized I'm optional to you as a person, but essential as a resource. Her face hardened. That's unfair. Is it? I asked. When was the last time you planned something for us? Or posted me? Or asked how I was doing without needing something? She stood up abruptly. This is exhausting. You're rewriting history. I stayed seated. No. I'm finally reading it clearly. That night, she slept facing away from me, phone glowing in the dark. I heard her typing. Long messages. Probably damage control. Or replacement sourcing. The next morning, she asked if Evan could come by later to talk things out. I almost laughed. No, I said. He can help you pack instead. That was when she snapped. You think you're so superior, she said. But without me, you're just another boring guy with a paycheck. I looked at her, really looked at her, and felt nothing. No, I said calmly. Without you, I'm just peaceful. She didn't have a response to that. And silence, real silence, finally entered the apartment. The apartment felt different after that. Not tense, empty. Kaya stopped pretending. No more forced smiles, no more soft voice. She moved through the space like a roommate who hated the other roommate, but couldn't afford to leave yet. Doors closed harder. Dishes left in the sink. Little passive-aggressive sighs whenever I existed in the same room. 2 days later, the first bill bounced. I knew because she asked. Hey, she said from the couch, trying to sound casual. Did you change something with the internet? It's canceled, I replied, tying my shoes. Her head snapped up. What do you mean canceled? I told you. I'm detaching my accounts. You can't just... Alex, I need that. I work online. I paused at the door. Then you should probably make sure the person who gets you covers it. That set her off. She followed me into the hallway, voice raised but controlled enough to avoid sounding unhinged. You're doing this to hurt me. No, I said. I'm doing this to stop hurting myself. She laughed bitterly. So this is what you do when you don't get your way? You run? I turned back to her. No. I leave when I realize I'm being tolerated, not valued. That night, I packed quietly. Just essentials. Clothes. Documents. Laptop. She watched from the doorway, arms crossed, eyes sharp. You think you're winning, she said. But you'll regret this. You don't just walk away from a woman like me. I zipped the bag. I'm not walking away from you. I'm walking toward myself. She didn't cry. Not then. She scoffed, rolled her eyes, muttered something about ego and fragility. But when I picked up my keys, her voice cracked. Where am I supposed to go? I looked at her for a long moment. You said it yourself, I replied. It meant nothing. He was just better at a few things than me. I opened the door. Let him be better at this too. I left her standing in the apartment, surrounded by ring lights, half-packed brand deals, and a silence she'd never bothered to prepare for. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't look back. The silence after I left wasn't dramatic. No explosion. No frantic calls. No cinematic moment where she chased me down the stairs. Just quiet. I stayed with a coworker the first night. Slept on a couch. Woke up before my alarm like my body already knew the routine had changed. My phone had a few messages from Kaya. Not apologies. Not explanations. Logistics. Did you take the router? When is the last payment for rent actually due? Can you forward the property manager's email? I answered once. Briefly. Factually. Then I stopped. The promotion paperwork went through faster than I expected. HR sent timelines. Travel details. Temporary housing. It felt surreal how quickly my life reorganized itself once I removed the thing weighing it down. 3 days later, Kaya finally called. I let it ring once. Twice. Picked up on the third. Her voice sounded different. Not sharp. Not superior. Tired. I didn't think you'd actually do it, she said. I know, I replied. There was a long pause. Then, Evan says you're being dramatic. That made me smile. Not in a happy way. In a confirmation way. I'm sure he does, I said. She exhaled hard. I just didn't think you'd disappear. I almost corrected her. Almost told her I'd been disappearing for months already. Just quietly, internally. But I didn't see the point. I didn't disappear, I said. I just stopped filling the gaps. She didn't respond right away. Then she said, softer. I thought you understood your role. That sentence told me everything I needed to know. I did, I said. That's why I left. After that, the call ended naturally. No goodbye. No anger. Just two people realizing the transaction had concluded. A week later, I drove past the apartment to grab the last of my mail. Her car was gone. The lights were off. A notice was taped to the door. Something official, something unavoidable. I didn't feel smug. I felt light. Because when the noise finally stopped, I realized something important. I hadn't lost anything. I'd just stopped paying for someone else's illusion. And for the first time in a long time, silence felt like peace. I'm writing this from a hotel room that smells like new carpet and bad coffee. The promotion started immediately. New city, new office, new badge. Same me, but lighter. No constant tension. No calculating someone else's mood. No wondering if my usefulness outweighed my presence. A week into the new role, HR asked if I wanted to make the relocation permanent. I said yes without hesitation. That night, I got one last message from Kaya. Not angry, not apologetic, just confused. I don't get how you could walk away so easily. I stared at it for a while before replying. I didn't walk away easily, I wrote. I walked away quietly. There's a difference. She didn't respond. Later, scrolling out of habit, I saw her post. Solo mirror selfie. Caption about rebirth and protecting her energy. Comments full of fire emojis and men asking if she was single. I didn't feel anything. That's the part people don't talk about. They expect rage or heartbreak or regret. But sometimes, when something ends exactly when it should, all that's left is calm. I canceled the last shared subscription the next morning. Closed the chapter completely. So here's why I'm posting. Not for validation. Not for revenge. Just perspective. If someone tells you that another person is better than you, believe them. Then let that person take over everything, not just the parts they enjoy. Love isn't proven by endurance. It's proven by mutual respect. And the moment you realize you're being kept for convenience instead of chosen with intention, that's not a relationship anymore. That's a lease. And leases can be terminated. Thanks for reading.